Is this what day is this?
It's Mail It In Friday.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
This is Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Here we go, Overdrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan on a beautiful Friday here in Toronto.
Yes.
A beautiful day, sets up beautifully for next week. I just saw our boy Tom Kim is on his way to Hamilton next year for the RBC Canadian Open.
Oh, my guy, Tommy
we
Kim.
love Tom Kim. So, yeah, it's very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, beige on beige on beige. Maybe they play together.
That's
Maybe
right.
they play in the same grouping.
I like it. Adam Scott, you know who's going there too is Cooch. Your boy Matt Kuchar will be up there. Cooch will be in his corduroys. You'll have beige on beige with Scotty, and you'll have Tom Kim just cruising around. So
Cooch is a favorite. Cooch is a favorite. Like he'll play.
Everyone loves
there.
Cooch. Loves Matt Kuchar.
So but we set up before the show. And, in the back hall, you can see some things in that. I assume there's a video you're going to get to at some point. Were you laughing at that video? You know which one I'm talking about, Brian?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There was a guy with no tarp on.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe it was Joe from the Bridge or whoever. Like, there was a guy golfing with no tarp on. He looked like he was on the tour. He was chipping out of the water.
Well, sometimes, they get close to the water. They take all their gear off.
But their shirt?
Yeah, it's unnecessary. But, yes, if you're hitting a ball that's in the water, you know it's going to splash.
Because if you don't take your tarp off, you dig down. I had that shot in Hamilton with you, Hayes. Remember? I dug that thing out of the – it was in the muck, and I put it on the green. And luckily, all my gear was – I wasn't taking my tarp off.
Oh,
I saw this, and I was like, what the hell's going on?
Dude, that looks like a corn fairy. I don't know who that is.
Stenson?
I don't know, but I laid eyes on that. I'm like – and I saw you laughing, Hayes. I'm like, okay, it's somebody – or whatever, because but that's on a tour somewhere, correct?
I guess so. Okay, guys, enough. Yeah, we don't need to play it for 15. I don't know who it is. I guess we need those details because that was not what I was laughing at. So yes, we'll get to that later, I guess, and try to figure out who it is. But I don't know. I didn't recognize that player. I know, they're down at Colonial right now. There's tournaments going on all over the place, and maybe we will see that next week. It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's exciting stuff. I was laughing at something else. There's a couple of things I want to play today that we will play, that we have to play, that are causing quite a stir. So we will get to a number of things today. We have Ryan Rishaug coming up. We have, who do we have today? We got Eddie O coming up. Eddie Olczyk he was in the building last night calling it, man. I have not seen a double OT winner with a reaction as if it was a 6-0 goal in November. I saw last
exhibition
night.
Season.
I couldn't believe McDavid. He looks up. He's like, nice pass. I'm like, you just won a massive hockey game in double OT.
Yeah.
And it was
that's
as
jump
if,
off the glass worthy.
That is triple pump, jump off the glass, maybe Mike Foligno that. That's a massive win for the Oilers last night. They kill the 4-minute penalty, which was an unbelievable kill to start overtime. And, of course, it's McDavid in the box, 4 minutes. He high sticks Duchesne, and then he ends it to begin double OT. I guess that's a sign that this guy's so dialed in and the Oilers are workmanlike. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
It was weird.
I couldn't believe his reaction. It was honestly a preseason game that was like mercy rule stuff. Sorry, we won't celebrate too hard, even though we just beat you in double OT.
And I don't know if you listened to his media afterwards. They were asking him, the media members were excited for him, and he's like, it was a long, long time sitting in that box, and what do you make? Because he had that chance. He scores at 100 out of 100 on that chance, and he waits too long. I think he overthought the situation, and good on Ottinger and good on Tanev to put their stick there. But that's a for sure goal in McDavid land, and he doesn't score there. I kept thinking, okay, he doesn't score there. It's not his night. Like, Edmonton's going to lose. That's all I kept thinking at that point. But his reaction and his sound after the game was like, it was almost like he was so mad or so irked by something that he just really didn't.
He's all business, where it's like he made the statement in training camp where it's like cup or bust, and he's like, this is part of the process, and that's what I do. Let's move on to the next one. That's what I'm not going to sit, and I called it yesterday as the X Factor segment. I called this guy to be the difference maker. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And he's just like, this is business as usual. Keep trucking here. We're not getting excited about this. No thanks. Well, I'm not going to sit here, and I know we're not going down this road, picking apart how he wasn't excited enough. I'm not doing that.
No, I thought it was worthy of a massively excited reaction.
Yes.
And he gave the finger point. Like,
I did not get fired up for goals, but in the playoffs, you score an OT winner, you go bonkers.
Yes.
And he just managed to say,
check, please.
Yeah,
check,
business
please.
as usual. Yeah. Business as usual.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great game. I thought, once the Oilers got that kill, which was a huge that's just crazy that McDavid's in the box. You're in Dallas. You had a 2-0 lead. And you almost ended it in reg when Holloway had that breakaway. Unbelievable save by Ottinger. But I thought once they got through the 4 minutes, I thought it was a great overtime. Like, I thought both teams were like, let's break this open, man. Let's go out and play. Yeah. And it was a great game to start the series. And I think it's so significant for the Oilers. They had to battle in. They had to win Game 6, had to win Game 7. Dallas has been waiting for them. You got to fly to Dallas, not much rest. Yeah. You're up 2-0. It could have gone sideways for you. Them finding a way to win that in double OT, I think that's just you can't overstate how significant that win is.
Well, I mean, think of the storylines. You talked about it yesterday, McDavid. Hayes, you and I talked about it, Skinner. Like, the storylines coming into last night's game, they were kind of all under the microscope. Special teams, depth, goaltending, top players, and you kind of got a little taste of everything. And I know it's only one game, but I think Dallas's record in like game ones recently is like 0-7.
They never win.
They've started slow, so
they never win game one.
They're going to have a response tomorrow. Edmonton better be ready. Edmonton needs to have a response. I think both teams, there will be adjustments, but it was a good game last night. You saw a little bit of everything. And
maybe, Jamie, a sign at times for the Edmonton Oilers. They started off rather slow. They didn't have a ton of shots to start the hockey game in the first period. And maybe in the past it would be like, maybe we got to do something different here and go about this a different way. They just said, this is playoff hockey. It's 10 minutes that we didn't like. Let's just keep trucking, and they found a way to win the hockey game. Where I don't know if 2 years ago maybe that thing goes south for them and the other team just finds a way to pick them apart because they're cheating, they're doing things differently. So that maybe is a sign of a team that understands the process and has learned from scar tissue in the past and not to deviate from the plan. So good on them.
Well, and the other thing, too, is it was scoreless. If you're down 2-0 and you've got 4 shots or 5 shots, like I thought Skinner made a couple good saves at the right time. Like it just, you're going to allow goals, you're going to allow things, but
I thought he looked fantastic, Jamie.
He was dialed in. He made, the Dadonov save with the Ben rebound. That's 2 minutes into the game where Dallas catches them on a stretch play, sleeping a little bit. That looks different. The building's rocking. You're up 1-0 2 minutes into the game if that happens, right? Mm-hmm. Like that. I thought that save was really significant.
Skinner was good.
Not only just for Skinner, but just for the team to kind of settle in. And then it was kind of, back and forth a little bit. But the chances ended up pretty even. The shots on goal were pretty even. I thought both goalies played really well. I thought, it's more, if you had to nitpick, you'd probably, say there was a handful of guys, if that didn't play well last night on both sides. If that.
Yeah.
I thought
it was a good game. I thought it was
well.
Like, these are good teams. This is a good matchup. You got game 2 of the Rangers-Panthers tonight. I think the Rangers will respond. And, I think you've got a very evenly matched conference final on both sides.
How much do you think the Rangers will be responding?
I like them a lot tonight.
I like Florida a lot.
You like Florida a lot.
Is the kid in? Is the monster in or not? Is Rempe playing?
I haven't seen anything on Rempe. I don't think we'll find that out probably
I don't know
until
why
the game
everyone's
starts.
so fascinated about this.
That's
guy,
not going to
whether
change
No
anything.
kidding. Like, Johnny has a great point where it's like, you can put him in, and maybe he could show his teammates that nobody should be scared because he's there, but they got to find a way to create some offense and get by that D and get to the goaltender and get it by the goaltender. So he could maybe charge up the building, and there could be that factor, but let's be real here. Like, we're not talking about a guy that's going to change the dynamic of a game. A sleepy night in February, he can maybe wake everybody up, but if you need that kind of energy charge at this particular point in the postseason, you got another thing.
That's the point. Like, if you're looking at it like we need Rempe to get this place going, man, you're down 1-0 and you're at home in a conference final.
Being down 1-0 is the spark you need.
Yes.
There's your spark. Because if you go down 2 Cobb, Bobby Mack always says lose one at home, you're in some trouble. Lose a Deuce Bigelow, you're in big time trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's the only thing I could see Rempe doing is if he tries to get the emotion going, like if he skates right up to Sam Bennett and says, I'm going to fight you, and chases him around a little bit, or Bennett's not going to fight him.
No.
Like is there anybody on Florida that would fight Rempe that could actually like handle him physically, like dropping the gloves? I don't know if there is. I don't think there is.
No, I'm not sure
So he
there is.
probably will be a non-factor fighting unless he decides to impose his will and go, all right, I'm going to punch somebody in the face here and take the 2 minutes and see how you guys react. Like, that would be the only, you waste one and go, okay, we saw what you guys didn't like what you did at the end of the game. We didn't have a response. I'm going to force you guys to have a response. That would be
the
my
response
only
from
thing.
Fighting is always a curious thing.
Yep.
Like, like Brendan Shanahan as a line mate, if he fought somebody and beat the hell out of him and I sat and watched it staring on the ice, I wouldn't be like, now I got to bring my A game because Shanny just kicked somebody's ass. But what it does do is, well, that guy's playing for keeps tonight and he means business, so I better. But it's not like you watch it and it's like, oh, I'm going to start playing. Like, it's interesting, the reaction. We talk about it could charge up the crowd. It could let everybody know that he's serious and everybody's got to do their thing and no one's going to push us around. But we just mentioned it. Like, if you need some kind of energy boost in Game 2 at home when you get it handed to you in Game 1, you got issues.
Yeah, tonight, if you're the Rangers, you're looking at Panarin. Panarin's their best player. He's had a great regular season, and he's got to get going. He's had sleepy moments during the playoffs, and he's got to be significant. Zibanejad, you need Kreider involved, Trocheck, Adam Fox, and Shesterkin. Like, it's your best players. If you're at home down 0-1, you got to have your best players supply a game tonight.
And that was essentially, guys, a 1-0 game. It wasn't like they got ran out of the building. Like, it was a 1-0 game on a bad goal, which I didn't like the Shesterkin, the first goal against. Like, and then Lafreniere puts one in his net with 3 minutes left and an empty netter. And if you look at it, like, the Rangers had the chances were close to the same, all of this stuff. Like, Bobrovsky was better than Shesterkin. That's the way I look at it. It was pretty damn close. But look, let's see what you follow it up with. If you're the Rangers, you do need a response. You can't go down 0-2 in your own building, like you said.
No, you can't do it. Especially against this team. Like Florida, they smell blood in the water. Yeah, you fly down to Florida and you're down 0-2. You're in big trouble. Big trouble. So, Eddie Olczyk coming up in about 15 minutes. Eddie's taking a game last night, the game tonight, among other things. Reports constantly coming out daily about certain free agents and what they could be looking at and where the teams come into play. And we'll get to that with Eddie in terms of a couple of pending UFAs up here in Toronto that, some people are buzzing about today. Tyler Bertuzzi, his future. Max Domi, his future. But the Jays, they beat up on Detroit last night. And you guys see there was a power outage. And I figured you guys would like this.
Man.
Yeah, it was weird, and it was happening in Detroit. It was happening, around the stadium, and
shout out to Dan Schulman, man.
It was a grind, but it was a fun one for the Jays last night because the home run jacket came out a bunch, and Dalton Varsho was asked about it after the game. I saw Morosi tweet out that the Jays and Tigers, neither of them had use of replays or dugout iPads for most of the game. And Dalton Varsho said after the game, quote, I think it helped us when asked about the absence of technology. It goes back to old school baseball.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can't stand it when NHL hockey players are going back to the bench and grabbing an iPad. The play's over. If you want to have a conversation with somebody saying, hey, if I'm darting through the middle there, maybe get the puck deep. But it's all like vanity stuff where it's like, oh, how did I look with that play? Oh, did I toe drag? It's so stupid. It's so every coach, every play looking down. Just communicate, like bring some of the old school back where it's like lean down and say, hey, either need you going or that puck's got to go there. The iPads I find to just be a goofy look, especially the players. Oh, look at me spin around here. When I do that, you got it. It's just get serious. I can't stand looking at them.
Yeah,
I can't stand the iPads.
I agree. I think it's weird how sports, generally speaking in pro sports, and I would use golf as an example. You're always told growing up you have to forget the last play. Like you have to forget it. Who cares if you hit if you shank the ball or if you hit a hole in one? It's irrelevant to your next play.
You got to put a peg in the ground on the next tee.
Exactly, and it's the same thing. Like I get it from a coaching perspective. If there is someone in the dugout, on the bench, up in the stands or whatever, saying we're seeing something here, and you relay that to the coach, hey, this is what's going systematically. Or from a pitching standpoint, hey, he's maybe tipping something here, or these are the sequences that we've figured out based on technology, whatever it happens to be. But the idea that, the last time you were in the batter's box, you struck out, but then you went back and watched your iPad, and now you'll figure it out, is absurd. Like, it's simply absurd. And the idea that, I don't know. I love that quote from Varsho, who is kind of an old school type of ball player, feels like it. And he's had a great resurgence this year. Full credit to him. Like, just go up there, know you're talented, understand you have a game plan, understand who you're facing, and hit the ball. Go hit the ball, man. Don't watch the iPad and then try to come up with a game plan.
Well, after the game, Hayes, it's helpful. If the video coach wants to put together your at-bats and you can watch it in the hotel, go ahead.
All day.
So when we played, and Hayes, you'd look at the Jumbotron, right? Like that was my replay. If I let a goal in, like I would look and say,
Noodles, you didn't have to say and Hayes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I never played in a building that had a Jumbotron.
You never played in a building that had a Jumbotron?
Not the OHL.
I guess.
That was in the early 2000s. We were playing they were smoking cigarettes in the stands.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. So outside of that, we used to look at I used to look at the Jumbotron, and I would sit on the bench, and you're always looking at the replay. Nowadays, I see guys, they've got the feed there too. They're looking at the replay, but they're not looking up. They're just looking down. They're just looking at it. And I think there is advantages to it, but I think it's too much, to your point. Like, you got to park it. The only time I've ever seen guys use it, which I think was methodical, if they thought they had more space, or did I have more time? Did I have, I
know, but Noodles, what good does that do you? That play has gone up in smoke.
You're right.
I always say the same play in the NHL is very unlikely to happen the same way. It's like somebody comes back to the bench and it's like, oh, whatever. It's like that play's dead.
I know.
I screwed up. That's it. Let's move on. It'll never happen again like that. That's why I don't understand looking at it on the iPad.
I think some guys are just like, these kids are wired. I say kids, they're all younger than us. These guys are wired differently.
They love looking at themselves. That's what it is. They love watching themselves.
But it's also information. It's not vain. It's information. Like I've had a coach tell me that these kids know systems just as much as they do, because they live it, and they'll give feedback instantly going, hey, I got to come deeper here. I got to do that. Where a lot of it when we played was more feel. It's like, come support the play, all of that type of stuff. These guys are now so detail orientated. It's just it's apples and oranges. That's the way I look at it. Aesthetically, I don't like it, because you're right. Like, pay attention to the play instead of going back and looking. But it is, these guys use it as a not like a prop. Like I
think it's an ask.
I think sometimes they do. I think you're both right. I do believe there are times where you look at it and you're trying to figure out not what you did, but what the opponent did. I think that's what you're suggesting, Noodles. But we both have seen, all three of us have seen a guy fan on a one-timer, and then let me look at that. Oh, I had more. It's like, dude, you embarrassed yourself. You don't have to pretend like you want to see what happened there. It's like looking at your stick when you fan on a shot. It wasn't the stick. You fan on the shot. You know what I mean? Like, the iPad's not going to tell you anything you don't know. You screwed up, and the iPad's just going to confirm that for you. Or if you made a beautiful play, because I'm sure that happens too. Man, I threw a beautiful sauce.
They did. That's what I'm talking about. They
look.
love watching that. It's like, look at that sauce. How did you not get that? It's like, I didn't get it. Move on.
You see this? Hey, let me show you that. See that?
But as far
sauce?
as talking to the coach, as far as systems, I just think it's ass kissing like the coach. I used to love guys that would come back to the bench. And they were in trouble. Okay, guys swarming them. They'd feather a sauce or through 8 guys, and it would land on, and they'd come back to the bench and be like, "Is that what I was supposed to do there?" And the coach would be like, the assistant coach would be like, "Yeah, that was awesome, great play there." And then they'd be shaking their head, and I'm just like, I wanted to punch them in the side of the head.
Yeah, those guys are the worst.
Those guys are the worst. They would have an unbelievable play, come back to the defense coach and be like, "Is that what I was supposed to do there?" Yes, that was great.
There's lots of teachers'
in
pets.
the NHL. In the NHL, guys would be doing that. Is that what I was supposed to do there?
Or is that what you want me to do there too? That was the coach.
Like, spinorama out of trouble, backhand sauce, and it was like, that's all I had there, coach. Sorry, and the coach would be like, that was awesome.
Every team had 1 or 2 of those teachers' pets for sure. Like you would hear them, exactly, as they're skating off, like locking eyes with the coaches. You want me to do that? And the coach would come down and say, "Actually, I need you to do this," or whatever. There are certain guys. That's never going to change. I think that's just all sports.
No, but Noodles, I've heard some old school players and coaches reverse snap on them and say, "Shut the bleep up. That's your job. What do you want? Like confirmation of how awesome that play was? Get serious." I've heard coaches know exactly what the player was up to and say, "Get serious." Just totally blowing a coverage, and they'd be like, "Coach, when that guy goes there, was I?" And the coach is just like, "Shut up and figure it out. You were clueless and lost, and your head was in space."
Exactly. Like the coach will double down and go, "No, that's not what you're supposed to do. Just get that puck out, and you're lucky if you get another shift."
Not that complicated, dude. You're the 6th defenseman. I'm trying to find 10 minutes out of you.
Yeah,
maybe
10.
Maybe
just
10.
Begging for 10 minutes.
I'm begging for 10. Stop asking if you were supposed to throw a sauce through the middle.
Yeah.
You were not. All right, Eddie O coming up. Eddie Olczyk will join us. Mike Johnson coming up today. Dear Hazy B making his triumphant return. Dear Hazy B in a couple of hours at 6:30. Got Steve Phillips coming up, who's from Detroit, right? His take on the Jays last night, technology and stuff. Maybe we'll play Chevy guy. Maybe Rick Wilde needs to be played today because of the technology going down last night.
Technology and stuff.
There you go. I think Rick Wilde
Can we play Ricky, like the video?
We'll play the whole thing. Yeah,
we need to see it.
It's been time. It's been long enough. We're World Series. That guy sweating. I love it.
No question. Aaron Andrews, Bud Selig, Madison Bumgarner, and Rick Wilde. Yes, that will be played today. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Eddie Olczyk here in a moment. Mike Johnson later this afternoon. Dear Hazy B, Steve Phillips. The Jays back in action tonight. We're less than a week away from the RBC Canadian Open as well. We're looking forward to that next week. We got the French Open coming up. We've got a lot going on. The World Championships continuing, and it's going to be a fun one moving forward here. So Eddie's coming up here in a moment, and I saw Pierre LeBrun was reporting and writing about, what could happen with Max Domi, what could happen with Tyler Bertuzzi, and a lot of people wondering where that goes. They could sign at any point. I thought they both – Bertuzzi had a great second half. It was really rocky in the first half. I thought Max Domi did everything he was supposed to do. I thought he had a good year. I thought he had a great finish. I wouldn't be looking to sign them long-term. I wouldn't go long-term. I think that's a dangerous game. But they're willing to come back, maybe a 2 or 3 year deal. Probably going to have to be a discount. Leafs have to win deals, man. Like they got to – it's all about money. It's all about allocation of money. That's what it is right now.
You know what the more and more I see things unfold and the conversations we had in the last couple of days, I think there is going to be change. You weren't sold on it, Brian. Like you weren't sold. That's like if Bertuzzi and Domi come back and Marner and Tavares don't wave, that's the exact same team.
Yeah,
literally.
More or less. Right? They'll find a different goalie. Samsonov will leave, but
right, you're going to have a different goalie, and TJ Brody's off the books, and you're going to have Klingberg's money. You're going to have, but it's essentially pretty much the same core, same everything, unless you completely blow up the D on the back end.
Yeah, and I don't think that's 0%. If we're doing a Jerry's, I don't. I think.
But at some point, don't you think it hasn't worked?
It didn't work last year. It didn't work the year before. It didn't. Nothing changed.
Keep going years back.
You can go back 8 years. I mean, they've known this definitively for quite some time, probably since the Montreal series at a minimum. Right. I mean, that was a flat-out embarrassment. Like, they were up 3-1 in the series, and they choked. And then, you go beyond that. It's Tampa the next year. Then it was Florida. Then this year. But, yeah, I'm not convinced. I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah. I'd be looking at, as far as allocation of money in term, Hayes, I'd be looking at what Austin Matthews is set up for. He's got 4 years on his deal. So, I mean, you kind of look at that time frame where it's like if anybody wants to go beyond that as far as a contract, maybe you're going to have to get that somewhere else. Because, or it's maybe shorter. It's like we're looking at some 2 or 3 year deals, and if that doesn't work for you, as good as you played or as much as you deserve it, you're totally free, and it's your right to go look for that somewhere else. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's not like the Leafs. They can't go down the rabbit hole of we got to lock this guy up long term because of a second half or great play. It's like
no, can't do it, man. I'd be looking at 1 year deals if I were the Leafs, especially if Tavares, Marner, if they're going to return. This year might be just a year of getting through and getting money off the books. And,
might be.
If you have a player that you really like, then you sign him, obviously.
Right.
If there's a guy you like and you want him to be a part of your program, regardless if you won a Stanley Cup or you finish dead last, then you go about your business and do that. But if you're uncertain, I'm leaning towards a 1 year deal or passing. And I'm saving the money, and I'm saving the flexibility, and I'm using the next 12 months as opposed to just the next month and a half to possibly rework my team. All right, it was a great one last night down in Dallas. Great one down in Dallas. And here's our main man to talk about it. Here's Eddie Olczyk joining us back on OverDrive. How you doing, Eddie?
Hey, guys. Nice to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. How good was that last night with McDavid closing it out in double OT? And all three of us couldn't believe the reaction, man. It was as if it was a 5-0 goal in November that he tucked away. He barely celebrated, even though it was a double OT winner.
Well, maybe it was because of the even for the greatest, in this generation, so to speak, and in the game right now, in Connor McDavid, the way the overtime was for him personally. Mm-hmm. You get the 4-minute penalty, and, then you have the unbelievable opportunity, and what was that, overtime number 1, and he doesn't cash in, and then, super early into OT number 2, Evan Bouchard makes a hell of a play, instead of, throwing the puck back down the wall or throwing it at the net. He takes a quick little peek, and Connor's presenting a stick, and O-Dog can speak to this, is when you're standing in front of the net there, and the pass is going to have some heat on it, you got to make sure you got that strong bottom hand, because you may not get another opportunity like this. And it was just a perfectly executed play, and I loved his reaction more than anything else when he immediately looked over at Bouchard and, gave him the point. And it was a really, really good play that probably goes under the radar because of the overtime that happened to Connor, in overtime. But, I thought that was a hell of a play by Bouchard to be able to make that play and recognize it. And, the Oilers get out of the Game 1 with a win, and now the pressure's back on Dallas, but Dallas is used to this. I mean, they haven't won a Game 1 in a long time, so it's old hat for them, and I would expect a much better game from them because I thought they were very average. I thought they were off in a lot of the areas of their game, and I would expect them to bounce back here tomorrow in Game 2.
You know what I thought of, Edzo, when I saw that game-winning goal is when I came up to the NHL, every grizzled assistant coach would say, "Stop in front of the net. Don't like they would always say that, and guys that would do drills where they would come down and shoot the puck on net, they would stop in front and hang around for a rebound. It's like that simple idea of just stopping there. But as far as the Oilers team last night, did it look any different from years past? Because it didn't start off well for the Oilers. There was not a whole lot going. Maybe that's some maturity in their game where in years past it might be, you know what, we got to maybe find some other way to do this where when you're in the Final Four, there is no other way. You got to continue to play and do the same things and try to create something, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, if I can go back to your point you made about stopping in front of the net. I mean, it is a habit, and I love this. I love the phrase "stopping and staying." Right, like you got to stop and you got to hang around there. You just never know. Like even like when the play doesn't develop quickly enough. Like I tell all young hockey players all the time, look, if you go to that area of the net and you stop and hang around there, the puck's going to find you at some point. If you do that over and over and over again, you want to say an 82-game schedule or a playoff run, you're going to get some freebies just hanging around there because the puck. I mean, look at Tyler Sagan's goal, the tying goal, right? Like he goes there, he's there, he waits, he doesn't bail, he doesn't try to get outside the dot. So I mean, it's a really good point by you, and it's a small part, but it's something that, I think probably needs to be taught a little bit more at the younger level so that the players, it just becomes a natural instinct when they get a little bit older. I mean, the one thing I will say, and then to the heart of your question, it just seems that Edmonton is okay when the game becomes a volley game where it's just get it out, get it in, get it in, get it out. Maybe the shots are 7-2 or 6-4 or whatever the number. Like they're very comfortable. It looks like playing in that type of game, and that obviously bodes very well. Now let's make it perfectly clear: the huge stops that Skinner made, early in that game, in particular, the back-to-backs on Donoff and in Ben, on the breakaway, and then. Ben tried to go up top and hit him in the left shoulder. So, I mean, their goaltender gave him an opportunity to be in that game, so to speak. And, it's early, but, much easier to be playing, when you do get the lead and you can play that way. But they just look comfortable with me. I don't know what you guys think or have talked about, but it just looks like to me is that, if the game isn't going maybe the way that that maybe we all think it should for Edmonton, is they're pretty comfortable. And look, and their penalty killing right now is going great guns, and that's they're generating and building off of that momentum. And but it was a good game. After I don't know maybe 30-35 minutes in, I pulled my headset off and working with Kenny Albert and Brian Boucher on the TNT broadcast down here in the States. And, I kind of just leaned over to Bush and I just kind of said, not a lot going on in this game. Kind of reminded me of the game the night before of watching the Rangers and Panthers. Just, again, watching from on TV and watching in the building are, two totally different things. But it just wasn't really a lot going on. I think I was probably expecting a little bit more, but long-winded. I think Edmonton's very comfortable. And they had a couple of those games, did they not, in the Vancouver series? And we all know what happened. They were down 3-2 in that series, and they were able to come back and win. And there they are, 3 wins away from going to the Cup final.
Eddie, you mentioned that you did the broadcast last night. Up here in the Focus, we talked on our show extensively in pre-scouting this series. You looked at Dallas's depth, you looked at Edmonton's depth, you look at Edmonton's top players, but the focus was on goaltending and Ottinger and Stuart Skinner had been lifted in that series in Vancouver and came back strong in 6 and 7. What was the storylines for you guys going into last night's game, and did they live up to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, sure, there are question marks for sure about Skinner, and, it's well documented, and you lived it in your career. Jamie, it's if you get it, you got a chance to win, and Skinner certainly gave his team a chance to win, and obviously, so we know the save that that Andre made on Connor in the first overtime. So I'm in the union of ODOC here. I mean, we're in the forward union, and I didn't like the goal that Hyman scored. I don't know what you thought, Jamie. I'd be interested after I get done here. I'd be interested to think what you thought on the Hyman goal. I didn't like it, but look at Hyman's a 50-goal scorer, and those type of guys, they find their way to get the get the puck in the back of the net. One of the storylines I talked about is that I really felt that if Dallas is going to win this series, a lot like the way that they played against Vegas in round 1 and Colorado in round 2, is that they got to have the willingness and want to and the commitment to play below the tops of the circles and really offensively and really force Edmonton to defend. And I think at times last night they certainly did that. I'm talking at even strength. But that's where I think that you can really exploit. And at times in that Vancouver series, I did Game 5 in Vancouver in Edmonton, and in that game, I mean, look at every team runs on empty. Connor did not have much that game. Leon Draisaitl did not have much that game. It's just one of those games. But Vancouver really, really was committed to, playing that type of game. It's a hard game. You got to get your defensemen involved. You got to pinch up along the boards. But I thought the storyline for me is if Dallas can play that way and have the commitment to do that, that would be the storyline for me. And if they don't, then you know what? Edmonton has that ability to go ahead and, we know the way the penalty killing is going and the way they could be a really quick strike team as good as anybody in the league in a long, long time, but especially with the two big boys. So that was kind of the storyline, for us. And, again, as you guys know, take goaltending aside. If you don't get it, you're not going to win. And really impressed with the way that Skinner has bounced back here after getting pulled in that other series against Vancouver and go from there. But, Jamie, if you can, what did you think of that Hyman goal last night?
I didn't like it because it goes through the body. Now, there were some mistakes in front of him. I thought it was weird that he was able to stop on that play. You guys just talked about it. And it was Lindell that was battling with, I believe, and Tanev did a drive-by. You look, Ben actually swings away from the play thinking that they've got control. So it was a very unique play, but I just, you got to give Hyman credit. Like, the guy just did not give up on that play. It was unbelievable. He stops on it, sticks with it, but it shouldn't go through the body. And to me, it looked like something redirected at 5-hole where Ottinger was reaching for it, kind of going glove side. And it was just, it's a squeaker. And through the body, everything, these guys know on the show, anything through the body I don't love because that's where you've got to seal it. So, yeah, if I had to circle a goal that he would want back, that's the one for sure.
Yeah.
With Eddie Olczyk, where do you stand on the Matt Rempe must play tonight statement?
Well, considering I'm not on the World Wide Web and InstaFace and all that kind of stuff, I said going into the series is that he needed to play, and right off the bat. So I was very surprised that he did not play. So 5 days ago I said that he could be that factor where when the line is drawn in the sand by Florida, because that's the way that they play, right? Like I use the analogy is that they're a team that likes to take the mound at 60 feet, 6 inches, and they like throwing high and tight and giving chin music. Well, if that's the case, then you're going to need to have somebody that can be able to do the same thing and isn't afraid to go ahead and say, okay, well, I know what's coming when I decide to put it right in somebody's backside or in somebody's shoulder and answer back, or get up there first and draw the line in the sand and go, okay, anytime, any place, anybody here right now, right in this situation. And then I think all of a sudden then, look at it. Intimidation is always going to be a part of the game. It's always, any sport, it's always going to be there. And if a team feels like they can play with that and use it to their advantage and Florida does that, it has helped them dramatically over the course of the last couple of years. And so, to me, I was very surprised. I was very surprised he was not in the lineup in Game 1.
Well, we'll see how it plays out tonight. It's always great catching up with you, Eddie. I know it's a busy time of year. Thank you for doing this.
Anytime, guys. Keep up the great work. Look forward to chatting with you down the road.
You got it. Eddie Olczyk from the NHL and TNT and Maple Leaf alumni.
Yeah.
Loves the ponies as well, right? We got the Belmont coming up, and it sounds like got some coaching news here. Darren Dreger tweeting out Scott Arniel is officially the new head coach in Winnipeg.
So the interim basically took over in L.A. and in Winnipeg, right? Because Jim Hiller got the approval in L.A. was that yesterday or 2 days ago, and now it's Arniel in Winnipeg. So it's interesting because there's no cycle through, right? Like Todd McLellan's still out there, Jay Woodcroft, Gerard Gallant. Who else is out there that I'm missing? Like some guys who have kind of been
Smith.
DJ Smith.
And Joel Quenneville, right? Like Quenneville, it kind of feels like if you're not in this cycle, it's probably the end of it.
Not happening this cycle, I would imagine. Like I don't know. I would hope that Gary Bettman would sit down with him and feel that either, I don't know what the right wording would be, time served.
I think the damage is done. Like it's just like, and I don't agree with it. It's like,
it's ridiculous.
I'm not going to get into this, but I think it's ridiculous.
Well, he's already life should be full of second chances. He came out. If you guys listen to Andy Strickland's podcast, I mean, he came out. He's owned it. He's been working on himself. Like, to me, he should get an opportunity. He's one of the greatest one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm biased because I had him, but I mean, he's a hell of a person and a hell of a coach.
His record speaks for itself. All I'm saying is if he's not in this cycle, I don't know if he's ever getting back in. Like I would just maybe. I guess we'll see. But and again, I don't think he was linked to Winnipeg or to LA or whatever. But to our knowledge, like he wasn't even in the mix anywhere. And they still have to hire in Seattle, right?
Right. And San Jose, I think, right?
And San Jose. And it sounds like maybe Marco Sturm could be the head coach in San Jose. So, yeah, a couple more vacancies left, but Scott Arniel is the new head coach in Winnipeg. All right, Mike Johnson in about 20 minutes. Dear Hazy B coming up later this afternoon. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog. Yes, he's a 360.
All right, the RBC Canadian Open returns to Hamilton Golf and Country Club May 28th through June 2nd. You have 10 minutes starting right now to text the keyword OPEN and your name to 105050. That's the keyword OPEN and your name to 105050 for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the final day of the Open. Plus, tune into OverDrive all next week as we will broadcast live from Hamilton Golf and Country Club. Head to RBCCanadianOpen.com for more details and to buy your tickets now. The field is shaping up nicely, man. Tom Kim, you got Rory McIlroy. You got Sammy Burns, Sahith Theegala, Cam Young, all the Canadians.
That's
Shane
a heater
Lowry,
lineup. That's a heater lineup.
Tommy Fleetwood. Yeah, man. It's going to be good. Matt Kuchar, your boy, he'll be there. Zach Johnson will be there, right? Your boy, Zach Johnson from Georgia.
I don't think he's my boy from Georgia, but
yes.
I don't think the Canadian fans will be all over him.
They won't. No. They won't. They'll give him the
Because I'll
space.
tell you what, man, the American fans, they can't stand that guy. Not just from the Phoenix Open. The Augusta stint, that put it over the top for the American fans.
Yes.
When he told them to F off.
And then played stupid.
And then played stupid. Like, I don't know what they were talking about. I couldn't hear them cheering.
Yeah.
That really rubbed them the wrong way.
Yeah. That was your third strike. Ryder Cup was a disaster.
Yeah.
The waste management where he's scolding people. And
it's just handled.
Augusta.
It's handled improperly because my boy down in Georgia, one of my best friends, is a doctor down there, and he's boys with all those guys. And he says Zach is like salt of the earth, like old school guys love him. Amazing guy. He just kind of played his cards wrong here. Like he kind of did it to himself.
Yeah, you can't scold people, and you definitely can't. Listen, if you're pissed off, you miss something, someone's jeering you, and you swear, just own it. What we say all the time. Come out and say, guys, the moment got the better of me. I was fired up. I was so pissed at myself. I said what I said. It wasn't directed at anyone in particular. Don't be like, what?
I think Ryder Cup captains that get their ass handed to them, they wear it a little bit. Like
Hal Sutton. Ugly.
Like Hal Sutton was a legendary guy that turned his career around and be the right club today and won the Players, but his performance with the cowboy hat in Detroit, man, people can't stand it.
And like they don't even hit a golf ball over.
I know, but they're it's almost like they have to wear it. The players, it's just like, hockey players, they just get on a bird and go home, and then someone else has got to wear it.
Like Tiger might be the guy at Beth Page next year. Like they want Tiger to be the Ryder Cup captain.
Really?
Yeah. And Beth Page, like that's a New York crowd. They're going to be going nuts.
Gritty,
at Beth Page. And if I'm Tiger, like we just said, I don't even think I want anything to do with it, man. Because if it goes south, like people aren't going to turn on Tiger, but they'll have a word for him.
Like if I'm Tiger, you got to just do something different. Like get Michael Strahan, get Mark Messier, just get them on the squad and just as like leadership mentors and just be like, let's fire these people up.
Yes.
What other New York legends would you have?
Oh, you get Messier out there.
Jeter?
You get Jeter out there with some gift bags for everyone.
I was just going to say, he can work on and off the field there.
Get like John McEnroe out there.
Let's come back and think about the 5 worst guys in New York you could have out there. Like you want to fire the crowd up and you bring out Exhibit A, and people are like, come on!
Well, James Dolan's number 1.
Oh, yes. Can you imagine James Dolan vice captain for the Ryder Cup on the first tee?
With a megaphone? Hey, guys, let's get this crowd going. They would run him off the field. Literally
Hayes,
off
come
the
up
course,
with a
like
5-pack of New Yorkers that would just be the worst picks for captains and like assistants.
I got it. Honorary captains.
Yeah.
I got a 5-pack coming your way. Mike Johnson will join us. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.